everyone, back to PommyInOz. Paper Talk is here. I hope all you lads and lasses are doing well. This is the show where we just basically take the mick out of the biggest AFL stories. If you are looking for deep, thoughtful analysis, you're at the wrong place. We're not about that. We're Fox Footy, classified. Footy classified we are, but without corporate shills telling us what to say. So we just have a little bit of a light-hearted look. We run you down through 5 of the stories that have caught my eye. So grab your centre brew, get your favourite blanket, get settled in. Let's run the intro and I'll take you through it. First up, the AFL has admitted something that we all knew. It's lost control of online gambling. That's right, a multi-billion-dollar league with a budget big enough to buy Tasmania has realised bookies may be a bit dodgy. You don't need Sherlock Holmes and House to investigate this. This was obvious, and apparently leaked reports say the AFL is considering AI to monitor gambling. I've seen a few movies where this is kind of the plot line and where it's going. I mean, it's not like they've got stuff wrong before. We've seen AI in sport, and let's be honest, the algorithms are cooked. You've only got to watch an EPL game and they count a dislocated ankle as offside. It's not as good as it sounds. Absolute genius stuff from the AFL. They're getting more people in. They reckon AI will be able to track dodgy bets in real time. But we all know how this goes. It's gambling. Next thing you know, AI is running its own multis. West Coast to finish top 4. Put it on Pom. Nice try. Nice try. Even the robot's not going to make me fall for that. And let's not forget, the AFL is practically married to gambling sponsorship. It's like a romance story out of Love Island. You know that they're not together, but it's really good for views, so they keep the pretense up. Half the time, you can't tell if they're cracking down on dodgy bets or just upset they ain't getting a bigger cut of the pie. And the moral, indecision of the AFL is fascinating. Gamble your way. Bet free. It's much better when you gamble with 365 or whatever it is. They are so in this. Now, it doesn't matter where you stand. Gambling addiction is a real thing. And, I think we should do everything we can to stop these kind of things. But people are welcome to do what they want. But you can't help think that the AFL has gone way too OTT with gambling. It's everywhere. Do you know what I mean? It's in every bit of news. Do you know what I mean? Someone breaks an ACL and then they pop an ad up to say, do you think there'll be an ACL next week? If the AFL really wants to clean this up, either add more markets we can have a laugh with. Imagine being able to gamble on holding the ball. Do you know what I mean? Bad decisions in the game. Or just stamp it out altogether. It's a real interesting one because a lot of clubs make money from pokies, my club included, and gambling. But there's got to be a more ethical way. And it's quite interesting that the AFL now has a moral obligation that there's dodgy bets. But you know that this is more because it's affecting their revenue as opposed to actually caring about you and I. So let me know in the chat, what do you guys and girls think? Do you think that gambling ads are okay? Are they out of control? Is there too many? Or is it something that not bothers you? Do you know what I mean? It's an interesting discussion point. Up next, Mother Nature's had enough. And it doesn't like round 0. Cyclone Alfred is scheduled to hit Brisbane, making round 0 in jeopardy of going ahead. Now, I love football as much as the next bloke, but I don't know about playing in 150-kilometre winds and torrential rain. That's not a footy match. That's Olympic swimming events. Can you imagine the commentary when Charlie Cameron takes a mark, has a pot shot at goal, and it ends up somewhere in the Pacific Ocean? It's going to be very interesting. Now, the AFL are monitoring the situation, which is AFL code for we haven't got a bloody clue what we're going to do. We're just going to hope it goes ahead. And if it does get rained off, we'll come up with a plan B at the source and say this was always the plan. My problem here with this is if round 0 is cancelled, half the league has a bye, which we don't like anyway. It's still going to go ahead at a later date, causing more fixture congestion and more confusion. It's literally as murky as the floodwaters that are about to, cement themselves from this place. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be funny, though, if this game goes ahead with them wins, because AFL footballers aren't the smartest tacks in the box, are they, when it comes to working out adjusting for the wind. We saw Jack Darling have 2-3 shots from the same place with a left-to-right wind, and if anything, aim more right. So this could be really entertaining. And we know people like McRae at Collingwood love to say, oh, you got to adapt to the conditions. It's all part of being a sports team. Can you adapt to a literal cyclone? Have you got metaphors and analogies? Can you imagine fly at training? Do you know what I mean? Right, put your jet skis on, lads. Keep your feet. Try not to drown. And here's a witty anecdote about Jonah and the whale. It's going to be interesting how they negate this. If the game goes ahead, I can't wait to see how they handle the kicking the ball out of bounds, deliberate, the deliberate rule. Because you can just see now, your handball comes out a half-back flank, catches a gust, and then someone pays it because the umpires, they don't account for conditions. This could be interesting, could it? When you see Charlie Cameron running to go and he yeets one, this could go miles. Interesting for one. What do you think should happen? If round 0 is in jeopardy, would you just wipe it out and everyone just, plays the final game in one set thing and we just kill one of the buys? It'd be an interesting conversation. Let me know what you guys and girls think. Right, this next one is proper mad, but America comes to Australia in the late 2026. Yeah, you've heard that right. NFL, the game that is basically an ad break while blokes in pyjamas and bed sheets run after a ball. A very, very bizarre game. The AFL said there'll be no conflict with the finals, but let's be honest, this has disaster written all over it. We saw the Taylor Swift concert. The ability of rejuvenating MCG isn't very good. Imagine if we let them in. The Yanks will be there stopping the game every 12 seconds, doing the ad breaks. North Melbourne Rebuild making the poor groundskeeper paint a different line on there. The worst of all, the MCG crowd is going to be forced to pretend hot dogs are better than meat pies. Do you know what I mean? Pale ale is better than real bitter. It's disgraceful. I ain't having it. Now, I know people love the NFL. It ain't for me, but you can see that this ain't going to work. You can see that there's going to be ground issues. We know that. The AFL was saying it won't, but they've said this every time we've had an event on the G. I am going to be entertained, though, because this is a very Australian culture thing that people go to nondescript sporting events in other shirts. Like, we're going to see a South Rabbitohs guy. That's a fact. There's going to be a Carlton fan there as well, and he's going to find it really funny after 4 beers to shout ball when the linebacker fumbles. It's going to be entertaining. Do you know what I mean? But let's keep it simple. Stick to what we know. Football. I think that should be another event. I appreciate the NFL want to build it, but if it's ever a jeopardy of AFL, we need to start focusing on the country's national sport. It's an interesting one. What do you think? Do you think the ground can be repaired in time? I have heard from reading articles in the UK that it does take a while for Wembley to get fixed and they don't use that regularly. So this could be an interesting one that the people who play in the first couple of rounds, after, could be a problem. Now, this one's getting everyone riled up. The AFL has a $4.5 billion broadcast deal, meant less free-to-air footy, especially for Victorian Tassie fans. And if you want to watch footy on a Saturday, you're going to have to buy KO or Foxtel or one of them streaming services. What are we doing next? Pay-per-view for post-game interviews. Imagine getting charged $10 to hear Beveridge get one of his players to say, yeah, we gave 110% and slag off the journal. Like after a 70-point humiliation. For me, this is again one of them things where the AFL have said that there is no plan to change it. And we covered this last week. Football was built on working class people, not billionaires strutting around corporate boxes, sipping Chardonnays, laughing at peasants and talking about they've just bought a new Bugatti. Andrew Dillon, if you're watching, you need to sort this out because the lifeblood of this game is being slowly taken away. And it's all right mirroring it with the big European leagues, the big American sports, but Australia ain't America. We've already been satirised with American content. You can see Kane Corns tries to be Stephen A. Smith, but without Max Kellerman, the intelligent reasoning, it doesn't work. This is a real concern for me because I can see where this game is going and it is going to eventually price out. That is starting to offset into kids' sport, into Auskick, the prices of shirts. And before you know it, it's going to become unsustainable when you can't go to the shops with $20 anymore and feed your family for a day. When you're asking for this kind of money with how it's going, it's not right. So this one doesn't sit right with me. The AFL does all these integrities into gambling and stuff, but literally everything the AFL is set up is to kill the common man, the working class family. And that is what this backbone of this great country is built on. the hard work on the shoulders of working class heroes. So for me, this is a big concern, and I know we've brought it up before, but I will continue to keep speaking out for this, because to me, I am sick of middle class pompous idiots telling me everything's going to be okay when it's not. So AFL, remember who the lifeblood of the league is. And potential changes to salary caps and player points. The AFL wants to simplify cap rules. So what do? A last minute change of room. Mate, if they make it any easier, Collingwood will have a rule named after them. Apparently clubs are complaining the system is too complex. Well, I suppose it is footy, not algebra. But if you actually look at the point system, it's going down in 20% roughly. Do you know what I mean? It's not complicated. We ain't talking big numbers. If it was fair, they always say every chance would have a reason for winning. If that's the case, why do we see bottom tier teams stay rubbish for so long? The real question is, does this stop the rich clubs from getting richer? Because I don't think it will. We have seen some tremendously dodgy deals using this system in the last 5 years. We've seen Geelong manage to get a top 10 pick and Jack Bowes. We've seen Geelong... In fact, what am I on about? It's just Geelong who get richer. Let's cut the nonsense. I think this would be better, instead of doing a soppy little PowerPoint presentation, trying to simplify the rules and educate people that if they don't understand it by now, they're never going to. Why don't we have open-ended salary caps? Why don't we have open-ended contracts like we do in every other sport? Why is everything under lock and key and then left to speculation? It needs to be an open-ended book, this league, and that is why there is so much indecision, because people can't understand. I'm sure raw in the system. Honestly, I'm not going to lie, there probably are. But the reason I've got so much indecision is I just don't know. Do you know what I mean? They could all be on 400k and not getting free accommodation and free farms. It needs to be above board, and it is fascinating when Carlton had such a huge salary cap scandal that we've not opened that up. You don't even have to show me players' contracts. How hard would it be to have a total net spend? Do you know what I mean? That's open. That I can just double check now and have a look. What do you think, guys and girls? Do you think it should be open-ended? Let me know in the comments. That's a wrap for this week's Paper Talk. I have been a busy bee. I hope you've enjoyed the content. It's the most videos I've done in a 14-day stretch. I am absolutely paggered. Tomorrow night we will be back with AFL Kick It, which is usually on Sunday. I have needed a break and a bit of R&R. But how long before Alfred takes out goalposts? I'll leave you with that one. See you next week. Peace!
Spent all my life holding